Hi, I'm Bong, and I am going to talk about the plug load audit that we did.
Just right click on the mouse. Or the
Alright, there we go. So if you didn't know, phantom loads are the charge you or the electricity you draw from an appliance when it's plugged in and turned off. So in this case, your cell phone charger is plugged in, but it's not plugged into your cell phone, but it's still drawing electricity. And studies done at the Department of Energy say that the average amount of phantom load is 10 to 15% of your entire electric bill based on your area. So
That's for homes, that's for residential.
yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, like 15% is just used to keep your thing plugged in and not being used. And over the lifetime of an appliance, they say like 30 or 40% of the money you spent on the electricity was used for phantom loads. So they come out to a lot. And for our audit, we use this thing. It's Energy Monitor, but it's the name brand on the kilowatts. These are like the more famous ones, I guess. They're
Commercial ones.
yeah, they're not generic. We use the generic one for KS, and after using the real name brand ones, it's way better. But these detect plug loads. You just plug them in and you plug the appliance in, and it'll tell you the watts right away. And with the better ones, you can like make graphs over time of usages and stuff. I think you could actually do it with this one, but we never really figured it out because we didn't need it.
You didn't really need to.
Yeah.
And you know, I also took a bunch of things and plugged it into both the cheap one and the kilowatt.
Oh yeah, we did.
And you would get a registration of phantom loads on here, but not on the other. It just says 0. So it wasn't sensitive enough to detect the nuances of the phantom loads. So I'm gonna pass it around.
Yeah. Yeah, the other ones were
You
like
plug the
some
appliance in the side,
China
you plug the
brand or
side into
something. It was- we were tighter on the budget then. We weren't very proud of it, but yeah, we have a lot of
got it.
pictures comparing it. And
Yeah, we got some China things here.
I've seen
like,
those.
oh, that's very much.
yeah, it doesn't save you any money because you end up buying a new one. But yeah, we use these. They're a lot better, and
They're not that much more expensive either.
yeah, they aren't.
Yeah.
So we did plug loads of various things. We basically went into every single classroom and plugged the kilowatt to every appliance we could. But these three came out to be like the most, I guess, like most common or most like, important types of stuff. So the televisions and projectors in every classrooms and the copy machines, like the big scale ones, like there's only a couple on campus, but they're never they're turned off at night, but during the day they're turned on and left in like a standby phase, and that standby phase uses a lot of electricity, like a lot more than we thought. And I know for sure the one in the office says it has a power saving mode, but we actually tested it and it was only like 10 watts lower than its normal mode, so it's not really saving power. So and I'll go more into that later. Oh, and just for numbers, there's about 50 television sets that we found in the campus, 40 projectors, and 5 large-scale copy machines. And
So going back on your plug load, the phantom load, did you first check any on the desktop computers?
oh yeah, we did, but computers are really like on it now.
Yeah, but when they're going to sleep mode, did you ever take some measurements on their consumption during that time?
We have, but I don't have those numbers with me
Yeah.
right now. But
Yeah, just
Really
curious
minimal.
because what I've seen over the various schools, a lot of schools are converting a lot of like typical classroom to computer labs,
yeah.
and we've seen air conditioning too, but the computer, the desktops, the amount they're putting in now is, I mean, you can't stop it, but that's what's good about with the technology. But I just wondering how it impacts the usage with the phantom load, because I guess they have classes during the day, and I guess I don't know if they turn it off or what, but it's probably something we gotta keep an eye on.
We can put together those numbers and send it to you.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's always bring up a question on energy usage on the laptop versus the desktop. And, these are good to compare the difference.
Yeah, we have an Excel file with all of that.
Oh, good.
And
Oh, yeah.
those 3 that were chosen were like the 3 biggest
The
ones.
highest.
So the televisions, the television phantom load came out higher than all of the computers' phantom loads currently.
Yeah, because I recall a few months ago they had an article about your high definition TV at home. It's kind of
Yeah.
open your eyes. I tell you, everybody turns the TV off. It's free, but it's not.
And this is just going more over like the power usages. So we assume that one TV is in use for 3 hours a day, and these are actually numbers we got from testing the TVs of 60 watts on and 5 watts when it wasn't but plugged in. And if I can get that graph to show, there you go. So over a whole day, the actual use comes out to 180, I'm guessing kilowatt hours or something, and 105 phantom mode kilowatt hours. So about a third of the energy you use on your television is just to leave it plugged in and not in use. So we could divert that third.
If they're using it for 3 hours, even, who knows if they even use it on a typical day, who knows, but that's, and you'll notice over and over again, these guys always choose really conservative numbers. They try to think of the most use it would have, or,
And yeah, well, the best solution would be, well, ideally it would be just to unplug all our appliances, but that's way too much trouble. So just using power strips correctly and setting up your classrooms to have power strips with all your computer labs is a great option. You just turn it off at the end of the day, and just telling all the teachers and students to remember to do this and not leave things on would save a considerable amount of money over, a lifetime of a school.
One caveat, when the fire inspector comes, you have to pull them off.
Oh yeah.
We'd be backing, but if we're talking
we
about
talked
power
about this
strips,
before. Yeah, I thought the power strips, as long as it was directly plugged into a wall, was
Correct.
Outlet,
Correct.
Yeah.
but not into another
An
power
extension.
strip.
So as long as it's not piggybacking on a extension cord or something, we're fine.
Well, appliances have to be directly plugged.
Yeah, appliances is another story, but appliances directly to the outlet.
What qualifies as an appliance?
Anything that hot, refrigerator, microwave, coffee
Okay.
maker,
What about TVs and
TVs aren't.
photocopiers?
No.
Air
No.
conditioning.
Okay,
and air conditioning, yes.
Okay.
Air conditioning must be.
and its own thing. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
You wouldn't turn those, well, maybe the microwave, but you wouldn't turn a fridge or an AC on.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I heard of a technology where in separate rooms, like I've heard of electrical engineers. They're making it called a master switch, where it's like a light switch, but there's like a plastic cover, and when you turn it off or turn it on, it turns off all the electricity usage that comes into the room.
They use that in hotels, right? You get
Yes.
those cards
Correct.
and you put it in. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
totally true. I guess you'd have to do that from the beginning, though. It's hard to retrofit that in.
For new schools, that would be ideal, I think.
For new schools, it'd be
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have
Imagine
to
how
go
much
and turn
students
off
would
all the
learn.
power
Just like you
strips.
walk in, the teacher puts in a card, just like in the hotels, and everything comes on. That's good. Thanks for bringing that up, Nick.
And they also do make a power strip that you can turn off with a little switch with it, like a remote switch, so you don't actually have to go down.
So you have to bend down.
Exactly. Turn it off.
And they have
Exactly.
let's describe that too. Because there's the occupancy ones that actually have an occupancy sensor, like if it's near a desk. And then there's the smart strips where Hawaii Energy was giving these out. They have like a little red switch, and that's your control, and you might put the TV in there, and then you plug in other ones that are auxiliary, so maybe your DVD player and your Xbox or something. When the power cord senses the drop in electricity use from the red one, the TV, it turns off all the others. So you could turn off your computer, and it turns off your printer and everything else. So as long as one person turns off that main thing, everything else, and on that same power switch, it has 1 or 2 slots that stay on no matter what for your like telephone. So you kind of put it all together, and
It's
really good.
There's a lot of technology out there to help deal with this problem. And for copy machines, the left graph shows typically what we estimated an actual copy machine is used throughout the day. So we estimate that 2 hours throughout the day, it's actually like for 2 hours straight it's printing. So maybe like 10 minutes here and there. And then for 7 hours it's in standby load, and for 15 hours it's turned off at night. And here's the monthly cost for the standby, phantom, and actual loads. And if you see, the standby load's actually the highest, and phantom loads pretty close to nothing. So the phantom loads are pretty good, but the standby loads on these machines are really significant, and these machines are always on throughout the day.
So assuming that it's turned off at night. Is the phantom load?
Well, they are, right? We had a.
Yeah, just a few are turned off. Most of them are left on.
Oh, okay.
They
Yeah,
power.
I-
They power down. They power
We
down.
talked
they-
to
they
some of the
st-
people in the office.
Yeah.
And they said that they turned them off.
Yeah, the office will turn it off, but if you're talking the big machines, they're not turned off. They power down themselves.
Yeah.
They go from energy saving down to power down after so many hours of non-use.
Okay, so it's more of an automatic thing.
Yeah, automatic power down.
Okay, so it's still happening
It's
then.
still
They're still out.
happening,
Yeah. Okay.
So you know, with this issue of the phantom plug loads, do you think if people and personnel were provided with the tools to turn these things off, that they would use them? Is it a laziness thing, or is it not having the proper facilities or to use them? Because if the DOE works on providing better controls, essentially, and people use them, right?
Yeah, I think it's more of behavior change, I think, like
Exactly.
anything else, but if you provide the right tools,
Exactly.
like anybody else, you
No
gotta have it
lack of
first, and
awareness.
then you gotta change your habit, like, we always talk about turning off your lights on. A lot of people do it, but still, like, I go to a lot of the schools, the restroom, the lights are still
The
on.
lights are still on.
So,
It's a behavioral change is correct, and it's educating
Yeah.
from within out, and so from
Yeah.
just constantly reminding them to turn off, use this.
It's also like those smart strips, having those installed properly and saying if you turn off your computer, we're actually going to be turning off the printer and everything. It's a combination, I think. I think it's a combination of setting up the rooms properly.
yeah.
We did see in KS that almost everything was on smart strips, right? And that they were turning them off. So when it's properly set up for them and it's put in a strategic place, like also the power bars were in access, like they weren't in behind the desk on the floor. They were actually mounted in a nice way near where it was easy to reach, and it seems like they were being used. So I think, I don't know, Fostering Sustainable Behavior by Doug Mackenzie Moore is like the Bible on the meeting of infrastructure changes and human behavior changes. And all of his research shows that you need to decrease the barriers and increase the benefits of the preferred behavior. So make it accessible, make it easy, make it clear, make it repeatable. Know that if you have every room set up that way, then you know whatever room you're in, it's happening. So if you're in one classroom one year, but then you're in another classroom or one afternoon, and you switch it up in the day, and one's set up for you, one's not, you start to lose the habit. But if a whole school is overhauled to have accessible smart switches and everyone's got them all set up and they know computers turn off more than just the computer, that combination of having the consistency, having it easily accessible, and knowing that it's socially reinforced by everyone doing it, that's the magical recipe from this person's research, which is touted over and over again every conference I go to. So
Yeah. For the copy machines, it's kind of different though, because you can't just turn it off every time you're not using, because they take a really long
Right.
time to start up. So, like just for the copy machines, it's really important to buy a really efficient model in the beginning,
And that's part of the
And-
reason why we try to educate
Yeah.
people who go to buy, to talk
because
about the
it
energy
will
efficiency.
pay for itself.
Exactly.
Because copy machines have a lifetime of 10 to 15 years, and over that lifetime, it will pay for itself if you get an efficient model. And like when we tested it, we're so surprised that the power saving mode was like, it was more like just for show. It wasn't really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so an Energy Star model
Which one in
is.
the office was the one that was drawing the most? Was it the one next to the desk or the one behind?
I don't remember, because I remember it was like 2, but
Yeah, we have two, a smaller one now.
I mean, I remember crawling under like the copy machine basically to reach the cord, whichever one had the harder cord to reach. That's all I remember. But yeah, we tried to look at some Energy Star models, and they use 40 to 60% less electricity on its standby phase. We couldn't get prices because I don't know why it's so hard to buy a large scale copy machine, but I needed like a business account or something. But yeah, I couldn't get prices. And if all of the phantom loads were eliminated, so if everything was on plug loads and turned off we estimated it to be at like 5 p.m. and turned back on when teachers got back into school, this is the amount of savings that Kalani could get. Or well, not savings, like money you wouldn't spend on phantom loads, and it comes out to $5,500.
that's at 26 cents per kilowatt hour.
Now it's 31,
Yeah, I thought it might have gone. Yeah.
so over $6,000 easy.
Yeah, so it's big savings for just,
But this is Oahu, so like on Kauai
Yes.
and Maui, we're
Double
paying
it.
about 45 cents.
Yeah.
Oh,
And then Big Island's about 45, Lanai and Molokai were paying 52 cents. Just to give you
So
rough.
that's double this.
Yeah.
So this
yeah.
same
Photovoltaic,
change would
man.
be like over 10 grand then. Yeah.
Photovoltaic.
There's a big
For one school.
How long?
Yeah.
Yep.